Right, hello again. So today is road trip day. As I explained slightly earlier, one of the big benefits of the Taycan is its rapid charging. Now the Taycan is one of the first cars to be commercially available with an 800 volt battery system. So that means it can take an incredibly fast charge, up to 270 kilowatts an hour. I've never been in a car that can take that kind of charge at all. Most of the cars that I've been in will only take 50 to 100 kilowatts, so this will be a bit of a change. The closest charging station that is capable of charging the Taycan that quickly is in Milton Keynes, so I've got a bit of a journey ahead of me. Now, as you can see up here, I've got to drive 228 miles to get there. I charged the car last night to 94% just to get me on my way, and displaying an estimated range of 174 miles. Now the car, I'll be driving in normal mode, not too worried about putting it into range. It doesn't really make that much difference, I don't think. So we'll see how we get on with normal mode. The climate control is just set to automatic, 20 degrees C, and as you can see, the outside temperature at the moment is 16. Now, typical British summer day again, grey, drizzly, and it is rather windy today as well, so that might have an impact on my range. And you can see the lovely digital dials I've got in front of me. Them having the map right in the middle will be very useful today, right in my eye line. So let's head off and see how we do. Right, so I thought I'd give you a little update on my journey to Milton Keynes to try out one of the Ionity chargers. The journey hasn't gone as smooth as I was hoping it would. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't have enough range to get to Milton Keynes on a charge, so not a problem, plenty of rapid chargers en route. I was going to do a splash and dash and hopefully arrive at Milton Keynes with as little charge as I was comfortable with. So we could see exactly how the car charges on a 350 kilowatt charger. The services that I pulled up to, I had about 80 miles range left, so it is official. The Taycan does have a longer range than my bladder. The only reason I was going to charge there, I had to stop anyway. I couldn't carry on much longer, so I thought I'll just plug into an Ecotricity rapid charger, give it a good charge there, and that will give me plenty to get to Milton Keynes. I initiated the charge and it started charging straight away. I've used Ecotricity chargers for many years and I've never ever had any issues with failed charging. Now the Taycan, when you get into the Taycan, it automatically powers up as soon as you get in the car and it detects the key. So I initiated the charge, got back in the car just to see how everything was going, and when the car powered up, the charge stopped. And when I went to restart the charge again, the charger, for whatever reason, just wouldn't have it. It just would not restart. It kept saying the pump was in use when it had already stopped. So not to worry. I knew literally only about 12 miles up the road was another Ecotricity charger, so I thought, just be on the safe side, I'll try that one. I arrived at that charger again with 75 miles left, so not low battery by any stretch. So pulled into Gloucester Services to plug into that machine, and that one just would not talk to the car. Every time it tried to connect, the handshake as they call it just wouldn't happen, and I kept getting an error message on the car and the machine. So I was starting to get a little bit worried. In all my years driving electric cars, going all over the motorway, I've never been nervous driving one before. But after two failed charges at an Ecotricity charger, I was starting to panic a little bit. So with the two failed charge sessions today, I was starting to think, is it the chargers or is it the car? I know the Taycan is very, very new, so it might be a software issue. Maybe the chargers don't recognise the car yet. So I was thinking to myself, now do I push on and try and get to Milton Keynes? Now the Ionity chargers I have faith in at the moment because they are designed to work with this car. But it was getting there, and yeah, how I was going to do it. So obviously ZapMap came to my rescue. I could see only a couple of miles away from Gloucester Services is a Morrison's, and Morrison's have a Genie point. So I thought, right, I'll give that one a go. If the car still won't take a charge, I might have to abort my mission to Milton Keynes today and try and get home somehow. Arrived at Morrison's in the middle of Gloucester, so a little bit of a detour. Rocked up to the Genie point. I've already got a Genie account, so just activated that one, plugged the car in, and within seconds it was charging. So I'm sat here at the moment in Morrison's taking on a nice rapid charge. There we go. Now the charge rate that's going into the car at the moment, this is a 50 kilowatt charger, but it's only going in at about 30 kilowatts at the moment. But with the issues with ecotricity I've had this morning so far, I'll take that. I'm quite happy sat here. Because of the issues with ecotricity, I think I'll stay here longer than I probably really need to. I'll make sure the car has got a decent charge, so I'll arrive at Milton Keynes with plenty in reserve just in case. So it really does hit home really when you're doing long distance in electric cars. The routine really, if I'm going beyond the range of the battery, in all the cars that I've driven, I always treat 30 miles left as empty. That's it, empty. Purely because if I rock up to a rapid charge on a motorway with 30-35 miles left and for whatever reason it's not working, I know I can get to the next one and try that one. But like I said, I've been driving electric cars for nearly 7 years and I've never ever had an issue with any charges whatsoever. Even ecotricity ones. I know lots of people seem to have an issue with ecotricity, but up until today they've been as good as gold. I'm still inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think. I think Taycan is so new and maybe the software in their chargers doesn't recognise it. But when I was at Gloucester, I did plug the AC plug into the car and that worked. So it was taking AC current, it's just really slow. It'll only go in at about 11 kilowatts on this one. And I didn't want to wait there for hours and hours. But fortunately this one is working. So while the car is charging, I'll give you a little tour. Now interestingly, on the way up this morning, I was banking on averaging around about 2.5 to 3 miles per kilowatt consumption. Now after about 45 minutes of motorway driving, I was averaging 2.7 miles per kilowatt. No problem at all, it's about where I expected it to be. And then a message came up on the sat-nav saying map update successful. So it's obviously done a live update of the map. So I said, thank you very much. And as soon as that message popped up, all of a sudden, my consumption went to 0.1 miles per kilowatt. So whether the sat-nav update has caused a little bit of a software glitch on the trip computer, I'm not sure. I'm sure if I reset it, it will go back to normal. But since it went to 0.1, it's been creeping up. It's now showing 1.1. So that's not a true reflection on the consumption of the car. I was averaging about 2.7 miles per kilowatt before that happened. At the start of the video, I said that I'd be driving the car in normal mode. I wasn't really interested in range mode. And after I left, I was having a little play while I was driving, just flicking the car between range and normal just to see what difference it was making to the range. And as expected, it was only about 5 miles difference really. But interestingly, when I put it into normal mode, the sat-nav recalculated the route to a route that I didn't want to take. And then when I put it back into range mode, it went back to the route that I did want to take. So for most of the journey, I have actually driven the car in range mode. Not because I really wanted to, it's just because the sat-nav was taking me the way I wanted to go. I don't know why when you change the drive mode, the sat-nav decides to change the route that it will take you. But I'm sure if I spent more time with the car and had a proper play around, there'll be a way around that. But I've only got the car for the weekend and haven't had much time to have a proper play. So we'll do a little bit of a tour of the car and hopefully we can learn a few things together. So this is the dash layout that I've been using. The map in the middle here is absolutely fantastic. It's very, very clear. When I left early this morning, it was in its night mode, which again was very, very clear. And the dial was either side. I can see my trip computer, how long I've been driving. You can see what time I left this morning. And consumption, which I know is out because of a little glitch. Speedo in the middle, where you want it to be. And the dial here, that's displaying the speed limit of the roads that I'm on. And any traffic signs that come up or road signs that come up, it flashes them up there as well. So all very easily laid out. This little toggle on the wheel here, if I scroll this one up and down, you can change what you see on this dial. So there's all sorts of different things that you can go into. I've been leaving it on trip just so I can keep an eye. This screen here, if you can see it, you've got your battery percentage. I'm sure there is a reason for it, but I haven't found it yet. But it's showing two battery symbols, both at 43%, which, as you can see, correlates to this screen down here, 43% battery. So I'm not too sure why it shows that twice. Let's put it back onto trip. Now with this button here, you can actually cycle through these screens. We see the dials being highlighted, and so when that dial is highlighted, I can change what this one displays. So G-force, that would have been interesting yesterday when I did a launch, see what sort of G-force it gave me. And again, you can watch the all-wheel drive system working. That one's quite interesting to watch as you get used to the car and what it does. Tyre info, that would just be your tyre pressures. You can see bang on all around. But I'll leave on traffic signs because again that one is quite useful. So with this screen here, with the Porsche, you get access to Google Maps with satellite view. It is very, very good, very clear. The instructions are very clear as well, very easy to program. And again, if I spent more time with it, I'll probably figure out its little foibles about when you change the drive mode, it changes the route that it's calculated for you. This journey, because it is beyond the range of the battery of the car, it does recommend charge stops and chargers on the way. Although oddly, when I left, the first charger that it recommended that I stop at was only 80 miles up the road, and I drove past that charger with well over 100 miles left on the range, so I ignored that one. Wasn't interested in that one at all. So I don't know why it recommended a charge stop so early, but after it did the map update automatically, all of a sudden it moved a recommended charge stop to actually quite close to my destination at Milton Keynes. So it does look like this car will achieve 200 miles on a charge, or even on the 94% that I had in it to start with. It looks like 200 miles might be doable, with possibly a little bit of a margin to spare as well, which is good news. Now this button up here is your home screen. Got all DAB radio. Been enjoying listening to Virgin Radio on the way up. You can personalise this screen as well, so you can choose what you want to have displayed here. This is just what I prefer to have displayed while driving. And this little button here, you can go into a few different settings for the car. So as you can see, you've got your drive modes here. I can use this screen to go from normal to sport and range. Actually, if I press range now, so it's in normal mode, 89 miles. There's range. Is it going to make any difference? 93, so yeah, 4 miles difference. When it's on range mode as well, interestingly, it says it's going to limit the top speed to 90 miles an hour, which is fine. Speed limit in this country is 70, and that's what I've been sticking to, so that hasn't affected me at all. I'm just going to pop it back into normal. So you should see the range drop back down to about 89, 90. There we go, 89. Again, you've got the chassis settings on here as well. You've got normal, sport, sport plus. Had a little play around with sport plus yesterday. And as I mentioned, the damping on the suspension is very, very good, even in sport plus mode. Around some of the horrific roads around Torbay, it wasn't too bad. Even with the 21-inch wheels that this car has, it wasn't too bad. But I find normal and sport seem to be the sweet spot on the suspension. You can also change the ride height of the car as well. This one has the front axle lift system, so any tricky speed bumps in your area, you can raise the ride height to get over those. But again, I've been running the car pretty much in normal, medium ride height. Recuperation. Now the car does have regen. You have a little button on the wheel here. So if you press that button, it will turn the energy recuperation on. And you do feel it when you lift off the throttle. You can feel it regenerating a bit of energy. It's not an aggressive regen. Some of the EVs I've driven in the past have paddles behind the steering wheel where you can adjust the level of regen, and if you put it in maximum, the car will pretty much come to a stop. I haven't played with the regen settings on this car. All I know so far is that when I turn that on, you do get a bit of regen, but it's not one pedal driving. But if I find out anything different about that, I will let you know. But on the motorway, I've actually had the regen turned off, because when it's regen off, it just coasts off the throttle for a long distance, actually, without you having to touch the throttle at all, which is quite nice. So that helps the energy consumption. I have noticed it has got an auto regen level. Auto regens that I've used in the past use the radar that's in the nose of the car. It detects the traffic that's in front of you, and it will adjust the regen accordingly depending on what the traffic's doing in front. I haven't played with that on this car yet, but I might do a little bit later on. So that's the basics on that screen. This screen down here, because I'm plugged in charging, it's defaulted to this screen. It's still charging at about 1.2 miles per minute, which equates to about 30 kilowatts an hour. Interestingly, on the pod point last night, it was the same 50 kilowatt charger that this one's rated at. That one immediately started charging at about 1.6 miles per minute. And towards the top end of the battery, it actually sped up. It was charging about 1.9 miles per minute. Normally, as batteries get full, the charge slows down. But the cars have a buffer built into the battery anyway, so depending on where that buffer is, depends on at what point the charge speeds up and slows down. I mentioned that this car has a 79 kilowatt battery. The actual usable capacity of this battery is about 71 kilowatts. So it's got quite a big buffer there. So again, that will help rapid charging, especially at the top end, but also will help prevent degradation as you pile the miles on and the years go by. Right, so what else has this screen got? So this one here, as you can see, I've got all my climate control settings here, heated seat buttons. I've left the climate on automatic at 20 degrees C. That seems to maintain the car extremely comfortable. And again, depending on what buttons you press here, it'll also change what you see on this screen up here as well. So I'll press the media button on that big screen, I'll go back to the radio, press the map button again, and there she goes. Air conditioning, climate control is very easy to use, simple to understand. This button here, I can open the boots on the car. This one has two boots, a front boot and a rear boot, which I'll show you a little bit later on. Right, so this is the outside of the car, and isn't she a beauty? That's the 21-inch wheels I spoke about yesterday. They do look good on those wheels. I would definitely choose those over the 19s. Lovely red Porsche brake calipers as well. Certainly shows it off. It's a nice aggressive sports car. This car has been specced with the powered charge doors. Because it's plugged in charging at the moment, I won't show you how they work just yet. But it's quite a nice option. Just run your finger along the sensor here and the charge door will open. Run your finger the other way and the charge door closes. Flush door handles as well. When you unlock the car, the handles pop out. And around the back of the car, let's get into the boot. And a decent sized boot. In the boot as well, 12-volt power socket. And a nice space under the floor to hide your charging cable. Now, this car was not spec'd with the Type 2 charging cable. Now, it is an option. I personally would spec it because some of the supermarkets that you pull up to, if you're doing shopping in a Sainsbury's for example, they have untethered 7 kilowatt chargers, and if you haven't got a Type 2 cable you wouldn't be able to use them. And although it's only 7 kilowatts, if you're in the supermarket for an hour, it's going to add about 35 miles to the range, so it's worth doing if you spend an hour in the supermarket, you know, to plug in, just get a little charge back in your car. But yeah, it's an option I definitely would choose, especially if you had the EV before and you have an untethered wall box at home. The Type 2 cable you need, really. I would recommend it. So as you can see, it's plugged into the CCS port. And thank you very much, Genie Point, for giving me a successful charge finally. The machine's whirring away nicely. And if you're wondering what colour this is Mamba Green. So I told you electric cars were green. And now you join me in the back of the car. It's the first time I've actually sat in the back of the car. And the first thing I can see, this seat is, well, the driver's seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'9", 10-ish, and I have absolutely bags of knee room. There's a little bit of a slope on the floor here where this vent is, so I can't really get my feet underneath the seat at the front, but there's plenty enough room. I can stretch out, chill out, relax. Loads of room. Air vents in the back here for passengers. And again, if you do carry lots of passengers in your car regularly, you can spec a nice digital screen here, so the rear passengers have their own climate control, so 4-zone climate control. And while we're talking about options, I have the actual spec list for this very car. As you can see down here, this has the 2+1 rear seat system, so this car is a 5-seater. So the middle seat is a bit of a bench, but it has a proper seat belt. So it looks like you can carry 5 in here without too much problem at all. You will see here there is an option for a 150 kilowatt DC onboard charger or onboard booster. Now if you remember from earlier in the video, I said that the charging isn't quite what it seems with Taycan. So I'll explain that a little bit further. So the big selling point of this car is its 800-volt battery system. That allows the car to charge incredibly fast. It will accept up to 270 kilowatts an hour, and there's nothing else on the market at the moment that will take that kind of charge. Now, for that to work, you have to go to a compatible charger, a charger that is capable of pumping out that kind of voltage and wattage. So it has to be an 800-volt charger to benefit from it. At the moment, there are only a handful in the UK. That's why I'm having to travel a little bit to get to one today, just so I can try it out and see what it's like. Most of the rapid chargers that you'll come across at the moment are 400 volts. So this car has to convert 400 volts into 800 volts to put it into the battery. Now, as standard, this car, the converter that's built into this car can handle 50 kilowatts. So even if you pull up to a 100 kilowatt or 150 kilowatt charger, it will only accept 50 kilowatts. So again, I think I'd recommend it if you do lots of rapid charging, lots of motorway miles. I think I would recommend upgrading the charger to the 150 kilowatt. That just allows you, because the 150 kilowatt chargers are becoming more popular. You'll see them around more and more often, and it might be a bit annoying to pull up to one that you know is quite a high power charger and only get 50 kilowatts. So I'll probably go for the 150 kilowatt upgrade. So at least if you do pull up to one of those, you're going to get a faster charge. But it doesn't matter which converter that you have, because if you do pull up to a 350 kilowatt 800 volt charger, you are still going to get the full speed. So that's rapid charging. Home charging, most people will have fitted at home a box on the wall that's usually rated at 7 kilowatts. It's usually absolutely fine for what most people use. Do a few miles in the car during the day, commute to work, have a blast. Go home, plug it in. You can set the car to stop at a certain percentage. You might only want to charge up to 80%, for example, and then have it stop there, or you can leave it charging all night and it will switch off when it's full. Entirely up to you. The 7 kilowatt charger, it'll probably add about 35 miles to your range every hour. So this car going from empty to full will probably take a good 12, 14 hours to go from empty to full, but it's never going to be empty when you plug it in inside your garage, and you're highly unlikely to put a full charge in it every time. So that's absolutely fine for home charging. The onboard charger is actually rated at 11 kilowatts, so if you do have a three-phase charging at your workplace or the business that you go to and you plug it in, it will take 11 kilowatts through the AC port, which is quite handy. What else can I tell you about the car? It's actually got a very lovely panoramic roof on this one. There we go. So lovely panoramic roof. Pretty much goes the entire length of the car. Now, having spent a bit of time in the car now, I can confirm that forward visibility is very good. And that's pretty much where my head would be. And I can see both corners of the car very clearly, so very easy to place the car. Visibility out the mirrors, very, very good as well, on both sides. Visibility out the back, as you can see, is a bit of a letterbox to look out of, especially with the head restraints blocking the window as well. But if you're used to a sports car, that would be no surprise at all. I've driven cars with less rear visibility than that one, but fortunately for reversing, this car does have a reversing camera, so that takes the pressure away from trying to see behind you. The camera is very clear, works very well. You've also got sensors front and rear on the car as well, so parking in tight spots, nice and easy. So overall, my journey so far, the car has been faultless. Lovely and comfortable. Feels like I could spend the entire day in it, no problem at all. Really nice place to be. I've just been taking it easy, wafting along, and you can quite easily see how you can cruise all around the country, over Europe, no problem at all. No aches or pains to report. It's just a shame about the problems I've had with ecotricity. Hopefully, well, I'm not too sure if it is a pump to car issue, talking to each other, but hopefully that will be rectified shortly. I might try another one on the way back down just to see if I can get one to work, but if I do, I'll let you know if it works. Right, so I'm going to wait until I've got a bit more range in the car. I've now got 112 miles into the car on 54%, so that should be absolutely plenty for me to get to where I want to, the ultra fast charger. But I think I might just put a little bit extra in just in case. The charging issues have made me a little bit nervous, but so I think I'm going to err on the side of caution and make sure I've always got a bit in reserve. I don't think it's a failing of the car at all. I think it's just a charger issue, because this Genie Point is working brilliantly. Not that fast at the moment, but it is working very well. So I'll update you hopefully shortly, hopefully from Milton Keynes. Well, we are here, Ionity, Milton Keynes. And I must admit I did have my fingers crossed a little bit when I plugged in to start charging, but it couldn't have been simpler. Plug in, pay, away you go. As you can see, I've only plugged in a couple of minutes, but already a few kilowatts delivered. Unfortunately, it doesn't show me what kilowatts per hour the machine is currently delivering. There she is, all plugged in. Let's have a look, see what the charge status on the car is. Okay, so I plugged in at around about 25% in the battery, and as you can see, it's now charging at 2.4 miles per minute. I'm not too sure what that equates to in kilowatt hours, but on the last one, the Genie point, that was charging at around about 1.2 miles per kilowatt. So I'm already double that one. So you should see the range start to increase quite rapidly. I'll keep an eye on the charge speed, and we'll have a look if it speeds up. Right, I've just discovered how to get it to display kilowatts. So that's the current charge status, 56.61 kilowatts going in. It's amazing what happens when you just press buttons inside the car, isn't it? Amazing what you can find. Bearing in mind this is a 350 kilowatt charger, I'm expecting or hoping at some point that the charge speed will ramp up, although it is by far faster than anything else that I've had today. So I'm not complaining at the moment. I'm not sure if I actually arrived here with too much charge in the battery. So I'm not too sure how the Taycan takes its charge, whether it starts off from a low percentage, charges really fast and then tapers off, whether it starts off slow and then ramps up towards the end. So I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll have a look. But I've only been plugged in for a few minutes and already up to 43% and 91 miles, so all good so far. If I see it really ramp up, I will let you know. Okay, so a little update on the charging session. When the car hit about 50%, the charge speed picked up slightly. It went from 56 kilowatts that it was on before, and then it hovered around about 61 kilowatts for a little while, and then increased to 62, and then 63 it was its peak. But it did maintain 63 kilowatts all the way up to 91%. So easily twice as fast as anything else I've had today. A little bit disappointed I didn't get to see any super fast charging, but I've done a little bit of reading while I've been charging the car, and it would appear that the peak charge that you get on the Taycan happens at the bottom end of the battery. This car with the 79 kilowatt battery, apparently you would expect to see a peak charge of 225 kilowatts an hour, but between 5 and 25% state of charge. I had a feeling that I might have come here with too much charge in the battery to see the full potential of the charging. I wanted to arrive here between 15 and 20% in the battery, but with the issues I had with charging on the motorway earlier, I overcharged at the Genie point, just to err on the side of caution. So I just missed that space in the battery where it really charges fast by the looks of it. But saying that, it doesn't feel like I've been here too long, and the battery is now at 94%. Got nearly 200 miles in the tank. I'm going to sit here and wait for it to naturally finish. I'll see if it goes all the way to 100%, and then have a nice journey back, hopefully. And I look forward to speaking to you later with a roundup. Right, so here we are, back in Torquay, and as you can see above me, blue sky, the sun's out. This is what Torquay is supposed to be like, not like it was this morning. Pleased to report the journey back from Milton Keynes was very uneventful, which is exactly what a journey should be. Very, very easy journey, stunning car. What more could you wish for, really? Once again, on the way back, I proved that I have the bladder size of that of a hamster. The car outdid me again. But on the way back, I stopped at Gloucester South because, again, I needed a little wee-wee. But while I was there, I thought I'll give Ecotricity one more go just to see if it is actually the chargers not recognising the car is the issue. And the Ecotricity charger at Gloucester South, literally within a minute of me pulling up to that charger, I was plugged in, connected, charging, and it was charging well. So I take it all back. Faith is restored, Ecotricity. It must have just been a couple of duff chargers this morning. And because of that successful charge all the way down to Torquay, no problem at all. So quick roundup on the Taycan, my weekend in the car. Yesterday was all about whether I thought the Taycan is a proper sports car. I think we determined that yes, it is a proper sports car. And today was to find out what it was like on a long journey. And again, pleased to report it is absolutely stunning on a long journey. Bear in mind this car has the smaller of the two batteries. It does look like this car does have a genuine 200-mile range. If you stayed away from motorways and maybe did a few more A and B roads, probably extend that a little bit. It did slightly better than I thought it would do for this battery size, which is good news. So should you buy one? Yes, you should. If you're in the market for a high performance EV, this is the car for you. It does everything. It's almost a 911 in the way it goes and handles, and it's a proper comfortable GT car on a long run as well. I would just like to say that this Taycan that I've been running around with at the weekend belongs to the Porsche Centre in Exeter, so I've included a link to the dealership in the description, so please go and check them out. Apart from that, this video has probably gone on a little bit longer than I thought it would, so if you are still with me, thank you, and please share and like, and I'll see you on the next one.